now. We're recording. So everybody behave.
I don't
So
think we have a problem with that.
no, I don't think so. And plus, this is turning conflict into connection. So if you don't behave, we'll have a learning lesson right here, huh?
Exactly.
I am Sam. I am from the Do More Good movement. I work with JD and Jay, transforming capitalism into something that works for everyone, not just making the rich richer and all of us working every day for it. So we host calls like this because we believe that all of this change happens one leader at a time, one team at a time. So calls like this are exactly what our movement is about, is connection, empathy, yeah, and all of these conversations are very important to turning conflict. I am so flustered getting all of that done. I'm Sam. I'm from the Do More Good movement, and I'm so excited to see what Misha has to say.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you. And I think the most important part of do more good and as far as just the phrase itself is to land here in whatever way we can. And so I appreciate you for showing up and supporting me and putting this out there and so we can support to create a healthier, more compassionately communicative community and world, right? So I welcome you also in whatever way, shape,
Thank
or form
you.
you are. So with that in mind, being that I heard the word flustered and I heard some various, I'm an empath and a highly sensitive person. So I can hear in different people's voices that they have certain things going on. And sometimes it is extreme joy, sometimes it is extreme pain, and sometimes it's just a little bit of frenetic energy in between. And so I'd like to invite all of you, before we actually get started, to just plant yourself, ground your feet on, feel the ground below you. If you'd like, close your eyes. If you don't want to close your eyes, you can lower your gaze downwards. Um, and I would invite you either to put a hand on your heart or give yourself a full hug and just sit there for a moment and just breathe regularly. It's amazing what a good hug can do. If you hug yourself, just give that nice little squeeze, especially if you're cold, it'll keep you warmer. And then take a nice deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And now I'm going to ask you, we're going to inhale, we're going to hold, we're going to exhale, we're going to hold. So I'm going to give us a count. So inhale through your nose to the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your mouth, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4. Do that one more time, counting for yourself. And if you're hugging yourself, go ahead and give yourself a nice little squeeze. And then release. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And I'd be curious if you have access to your chat, just to type in either a 1 for that was really needed, or a 2, like, nah, I was already good. So type in the chat 1, that was needed, or 2, now already good. Yeah. Yeah, and so 1.5, love it. Thank you, Matthew. And it definitely, so my wife and I have this joke because like 4 years ago, we've been together for 5.5 years, got married in May. But 4 years ago, and I can remember because I remember where we were sitting, she said something to me about wanting something hot or cold. And I said, well, how about warm? So we've ever since had this conversation about extremes, right? And so it's just kind of like a little reminder that yeah, it can be a 1.5. Thank you for that, Matthew. Um, so that breathing literally took us less than 30 seconds. And so if you've typed a 1 in the chat, I ask you to think about how you can do that for yourself on a more regular basis. Because believe it or not, that is the first step to transforming conflict into connection. You can't have connection with other people if you're not connected with yourself. So I'm not throwing up a bunch of fancy slides today because we're going to really basically, and we took some time to introduce each other, which is always really important. And if you're going to transform conflict into connection, you need to know who's in the room. So that's another tool that you should take in when you're working with other people or living with other people or experiencing other people. You really can't transform conflict into connection unless you decide to put energy into the connection. A lot of people say it takes money to make money. I say it takes time to save time. Okay? It takes time to save time. And the reason I came up with that phrase, and I'm sure people have said it before, but I came up with it for me. My middle schoolers always thought that they made up their excuses from scratch, whereas my community college students, when they gave me their excuses, I'm like, no, Dan, I've heard these before. What are you talking about? You cannot be the originator of this excuse. So the reason I came up with it takes time to save time is because I believe wholeheartedly that urgency causes chaos. I also came up with that as far as I know. So urgency causes chaos, right? So you're needing to get to work on time, you're running through, you're getting all your stuff from the house, you get to your car like, I don't have my keys. Huh. Well, guess what? Your rushing just made you late, right? When we moved into our new house several years ago, we had to sand, we pulled up all the carpets to find this beautiful hardwood floor. And we literally had to sand every single piece, corner. My wife got on, we tried a big machine, but it made some divots. My wife got on her hands and knees and literally sanded every single corner of each floor. And while it took 2 days, the floors were gorgeous and still are 3 years later. So we often feel like, yes, haste makes waste. Absolutely. Haste makes waste, and haste can cause injury. Haste can cause miscommunication, right? Think of all the people that choose to text instead of call, to have a phone call, to have a conversation in person, email. There's tone in there, but no, I didn't intend for there to be tone. Well, take your time, right? Step back. Yeah, that's right. Yes, also wonderful phrases in there. So you've got to slow down to speed up. That's right. Absolutely. So thank you for joining us today. We all know that conflict is inevitable. It's kind of part of our genetics, our ancestry. We're not always going to agree. And even the agree to disagree can be really hard. Um, I'm not going into this to sit on a political soapbox, but no matter what side people are on right now, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. And what I've learned as a political activist, what I've learned as a social activist, as a social justice singer, as a teacher, as a coach, is that if I don't take time to understand the person in front of me, I'm wasting time, right? Even if, and yes, I actually have clients who vote for things that hurt people like me. But the more I offer myself, but I think there's a biblical expression, I offer myself to thee. Anyways, the more that I offer myself, they pay me, by the way, I don't do it for free. The more that I offer myself, they know they have a door they can walk through if they change their mind, if they have an awakening, if they have an aha moment, if they want to ask for forgiveness, because I'm taking the time to connect with them and I'm actually making it connection over conflict, empathy instead of accusation. So my model, which is CAPE, it's my framework. I ask leaders to put on their superhero capes. And so CAPE stands for compassionate communication, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Assuming positive intent, trigger warning. I'm going to share something and it's going to be uncomfortable. If the elderly white man had asked Ralph Yarl, the youth that was 17-year-old black boy looking for his siblings, if he had asked Ralph Yarl, "What are you doing here, young man?" and given Ralph Yarl the opportunity to say, "I'm looking for my siblings that I'm supposed to pick up," he might not have shot him. Thank goodness Ralph y'all survived. But how much trauma did that 17-year-old have to go through? If he had just assumed, and I know it's kind of interesting that this is in the shape of a gun, right? Compassionate communication, assuming positive intent. If you take the time just to ask a simple question, right? Then you can move into the principles of inclusion, belonging. How can I support you? How can I help you? And then have empathy before accusation. Okay. So I have CAPE first, compassionate communication, even though I'll be very honest with you. When I work with organizations and I work with individuals, it really is about your relationship to yourself first. Okay. You really can't fix other relationships until you're willing to work on your own. I always tell my coaching students at CLCI, you can't take a client anywhere you're not willing to go. Right. So for me, it's really emotional intelligence that actually is the starting point. And I know some of you that work in that area would agree. You can't have empathy if you don't have emotional intelligence. You have to know what you're feeling in order to deal with the feelings of others, right? To be able to be in the room with the feelings of others, you have to know what you're feeling. But that's a whole nother workshop. Come back another time. So let's talk about compassionate communication. And I want to make sure we leave room because part of the do more good movement process is to have a teaching and then discussion. Okay. And I want to make sure people have space for that. Sam, were you going to say something?
Yes, that's perfect. I was just about to ask you if you wanted us to interrupt with questions or wait until the end. What's best for your presentation?
I'm gonna give another 3, 4 minutes, and then I'm gonna actually ask people to marinate some ideas, and then I think we could have a really lively discussion. Does that work for you?
Oh, I'm so excited.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So let's talk about compassionate communication. So and really compassionate communication is listening, right? So one of the things that I've learned through being a teacher, but also being a coach, mentoring other coaches, is teaching people to listen. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and this is part of actually our curriculum at CLCI, but I also use it as a consultant and a trainer. Raise your physical hand, not your virtual hand, but raise your physical hand if you find yourself listening to be able to relate and then share something you want to share about yourself with regards to the topic. Anybody listen for, yeah, like comparing, right? And like, oh, I'm gonna participate in this because, oh, that resonates with me, and you're like thinking about that. Okay, great. Raise your hand if you are ever listening to defend yourself. Somebody's saying something and you're listening, you're like, I'm gonna make sure they know that yeah, I see some hands. Okay. Raise your hand if you find yourself sometimes listening to fix people. Oh yeah, I know what they need. Oh yeah, she has fibromyalgia. I'm gonna tell her what she needs to do, even though she's never told me that she needs my help. Okay, good. Raise your hand if you sometimes listen and you feel like you have, well, I guess this is kind of like defensive, but like you have to justify your actions or behaviors or your choices or your decisions. Yeah. Okay. And then there's one more that I wanted to bring in. Oh, yeah. Raise your hand if sometimes you listen and you interrupt the person because you know where they're going to go. So you want to save them some breath. You want to save them from talking too much and you're going to finish their sentence for them. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I have some news for you. Are you ready for that? Everybody ready for some news? All right. That's not listening. I'm going to say that again. That's not listening. Yeah. So, one of the hardest things to do, and I'm going to ask you to practice it right now, is to actually hold on to each word the person you're hearing is saying. There's a point where you're actually turning off your brain and just taking in the word that is coming out of my mouth to you. When you do that, you can't do anything else but listen. So I literally will listen to you speak and say your word in my head right after you've said it. So I am on the heels of every word you say, which gives me no room to think about what I'm going to say next, gives me no room to try to change your mind. What it does is it gives me the opportunity to listen to you for your meaning. what is in your words and what are you wanting to say and how are you saying it so that when you're done speaking, I can pause and then I can think, how would I like to engage with this? But if I do any of the other behaviors, I won't be able to ask myself that question because will have missed half of what you've said with trying to figure out what's next or where are they going, right? I'm trying to predict where are you heading, right? So when you take that pause, you actually can connect to not only what the person said, but to the person. And oftentimes we say silence is golden, right? There are times in the world where silence is not golden and we need to speak up. And when you're with another human, a family member, a coworker, a community member, silence gives them the space to be exactly who they need to be without you getting upset, justifying, reasoning, predicting, fixing. Because most of the time, people don't need any of that. So, an example, my wife and I meet almost every day for 30 minutes. And we have this communication practice where I will tell my wife how I'm feeling, whether it's about her, whether it's about me, whether it's about somebody else, and she will listen to me. And it used to be that we'd have to do a minute or so each. Now we can talk for 15 minutes straight. And then she reflects back what she heard me share, all of it in my words, and then asks me, did I get it right? And I get to say, yeah, you're amazing. I wish you were here. I could tell her that. Anyways. And so then she says, may I respond? And I say, yes, only because we have the practice. And she'll say, it really makes sense to me that you'd be frustrated. And I'm so sorry that when I didn't give you a compliment, but actually criticized you first, that would have made you feel bad. So she strips her justification and her defensiveness aside to hear me, to be with me. And then I do the same for her. And in her share, she can say, I'm really good at beating myself up. So when you shared that with me, it really brought me down. And I don't have to get defensive, like, well, that is why are we making it about you? Because it's her share now. And I get to hear her with meaning because I love her, not because I need to make her wrong and make me right. So I'm going to leave it with that. The first step in compassionate communication is being willing to not make somebody else wrong, but to make them feel heard. So I'll give you just about 30 seconds to marinate that and think about how that might change some of the conversations that are going on in your life today at work, with your loved ones, with the grocery clerk, with your dog. And then I'm going to open it up for anybody to share a takeaway, something that they want to change, something that they want to work on. But yeah, just take about 30 seconds and we'll get people talking. All right. Sam, can I let you navigate the volunteers, talkers?
Yes, first I have a question. So this that was beautiful and incredible, and I think it's so refreshing just hearing someone. It's one of the most basic things, and it's not very common. My question is, how do I practice that? Maybe I'm not in a conversation. How do I practice listening on my own? Is that silly?
Does it feel silly?
You're making me excited. I want to work on this. Yes, but You always see the progress when you're talking to someone, but I believe there's a way that you can practice this without having someone there. Is
Yeah,
this
I
where
think
ChatGPT comes in?
it's possible. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I mean, I don't think you live in this world alone. And so I don't think you have to practice it by yourself. And so, really, the first step is even just today, as you listen to people respond in today's workshop, to really listen to them for their meaning, not for the me too, not for the, oh, yeah, and not for the, oh, I got an idea for them, but really just listen to each person that's here today who shares and identify, I'm listening to each and every word that's coming out of their mouth so that you can understand who they are. Now, obviously, we can't understand who they are entirely because we need to ask more questions. And that's why I love being a coach. I get to ask questions that help my clients grow, not for me to know, right?
Hmm. That's beautiful. Does anybody want to just jump in with a question, comment, or if you don't want to just jump in, you're welcome to put it in the chat and we can ask them for you.
Oh, Jackie.
So Lisa says the challenge is the everyday walk of life to practice those skills Misha is describing. Exactly. The first thing that came to my mind was easier said than done.
Yeah.
Especially I have ADHD, so it's very easy, it's very quick to jump to another. Okay, we've got some hands up.
Yeah, and
Jackie.
Sam, just real quick to that. So, I'm just gonna tell everybody I'm 57 years old, and I wasn't always a good listener. I just wasn't. I really wasn't. I thought I was, but I always had something. I'm also a recovering codependent for 16 years now. Codependency meaning I love to fix people. I have great ideas, and I'm always right. Okay. I'm not really that anymore, which is why I think it's what you're saying, Sam, is really important. It does take practice. Everything takes practice, right? We need
Hmm.
to be willing to do the hard work. And it can be hard, especially when we're sitting in front of people who are completely opposite from our political views, religious views, etc. But that's where the deep love for self, and that's another step that you have to take to be able to do this, right? Deep love for self and deep love for humanity. Not every human, but for humanity. And actually, I think for every human too. So, yeah. Jackie, go
Absolutely.
Um, Misha, I thought it was so interesting you gave that example of repeating the words that someone else is saying in your head like a minute. So when you said that, I started to do it when you were talking to see how that would go. And I appreciated it because I brought a heightened level of presence that I thought was amazing. Um, when I think about the not listening, it's something that I pride myself on, something I do and I practice in my marriage and all of this. But with my 17-year-old bonus daughter, that's where it happens. That's where it's no longer an active practice. And I really appreciate this opportunity to try things differently.
Mm, thank you, Jackie. So what I'm hearing is that there are some people you can and feel very comfortable doing the listening and being able to respond rather than react. And then there are some people in your life, and I use the term bonus too, so I love that. That there can be some internal history or triggers that or activations that can maybe derail the practice and process that you've created for yourself. Did I get that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes even just the child of it, right? That the dynamic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes and status does play a huge role in the way people respond and connect with or react and respond and connect with each other. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. Matthew?
I first want to just thank you for the couples practice. I really love that, and my partner and I have been exploring like, hey, what does this look like in a more intentional way as a practice, right? Like we both work out almost every day, but we don't do this kind of workout every day, and it's like, why isn't we're taking care of our bodies? Why aren't we taking care of our partnership in a way where there is this thing that like needs the most attention? So thanks for just sharing you and your partner's practice because it feels like a beautiful way to do that each day. Um, but it's interesting because my point was around Jackie's. Like, I can do this work for total strangers. I can listen to them as if they are the most brilliant person relating to themselves. I trust they have everything that they need. And then in an interaction with my wife, it is all that I call it my legacy programming. My legacy programming comes online
Mhm.
and disconnects me from her, disconnects me from that ability to listen like so quickly. Um, and just the awareness of that now has been helpful that like I will name it out loud for her and I, but I'm curious, have you seen in your work and in your practice other ways of like in the moment being like, oh, this isn't the way I want to be, and triaging kind of at the moment?
Great question. Absolutely. And so I'm going to take us back to the first thing we did, which was
Mm-hmm.
that 16-second breath,
Right.
right? And I do have a phrase for myself. Whoops, you disappeared. Oh, there you are. When the hands drop, they go somewhere else. My phrase is, I don't want to do anything now that I'll have to apologize for later.
Mm, that's great.
And the other thing that my wife and I do, and I work, I'm not trying to fix you, Matthew, but I do work with couples. Just to put that out there for people. The other thing that we do and that I have couples working on is reminding each other that the person in front of them is actually not doing anything with the intention
Yeah.
to harm,
Yeah, right.
right? And so we will often, if we do get upset and we need to step away, we will say, I'm not leaving the relationship. I need to go take care of myself right now,
Yeah.
right? Prioritizing the person that I am so I can be the person you want me to be with you. Right. But again, it
Dedicated to
takes
that.
practice because it's so easy. And my wife and I are both runners. Not she's physically athletically runner. I'm not, but but when it comes to relationships and conflict, boom, goodbye.
Yeah.
Under the table, close the door, out of here. Don't want to, almost like it almost conflict avoidant, where I used to be like really conflict, instigator. And then it was like all of a sudden at a phase in my life, it's like, I'm running away from this conflict. I don't know. Shut up. I don't want to hear about it. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't do that anymore. And we both kind of sit in that discomfort, knowing it's going to pass.
Yeah.
And I think also it comes from somebody might have asked me this earlier. For me, it also comes from someone with chronic pain. I have chronic pain. I've been having it since 2013. I had a car accident. Used to be a classroom teacher for 30 years, and I had to leave teaching. And what I've learned over years is that my superpower is my patience, not my panic.
Mm,
And so when I have pain, I literally have to be patient and breathe through my pain so it doesn't get worse. And so when I think about other people in my life who might be my pain, my pain in the neck, my pain in the ass, excuse my language,
mm,
if I think of them that way, I'm going to get panicked. But if I think about, oh no, wait, it's just another kind of pain,
mm,
I can get through it and have some more patience with myself and with them. Right? But the intention is not theirs to hurt. But what we all have to understand about each other, and this is a huge thing out there right now in the universe, it's not it's impact. You may not have had the intention to hurt, but you did.
yeah.
And so rather than getting defensive, we say, you know what? You're right. That wasn't my intention, but I can see how that really hurt you. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. That's all people want.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Misha.
You're
I will.
very
You
welcome.
pointed to something that made me realize it creates this circular thing that happens because, like, if you are self-isolators, then it triggers a feeling of abandonment in the other person, and that it's like this is definitely not going to work. So,
Right. And that's why we
like, the
can't threaten departure. We can't threaten
yeah,
I'm out of here. We can't threaten divorce. We can't threaten I'm splitting up with you.
right,
But we can take care of, we're still allowed to take care of ourselves.
in the moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
great point.
And
Thank
and
you.
and to make sure you let people know when you're coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm taking a time out. I need 15 minutes. I'll be back and I might need more, but at that point we can renegotiate.
Right.
Right? Okay, I need 30 minutes. And I actually started doing it with my kids when they were young. I'm like, Mommy needs a timeout.
Yeah.
I'm going to set the timer in the kitchen. When the timer goes off, you can check in with me, but I might need a second timeout. Right? Mommy
Hmm.
needs some time because I don't want to yell at you.
Yeah.
Right? Oh yeah, thank
It's a
you.
great model. Thanks, Misha.
Good. Marla.
Hi, everyone. Matthew, my question was very similar to yours about
especially thinking about if there's somebody who really is just not buying into this and is like coming out guns a-blazing, like absolutely no space to hear you or listen to what you're saying, or they are really like just the victim of their entire story and their whole life is narrativized around them being the victim. That's like a very core part of their identity. Things are always happening to them rather than just happening around them. So, Misha, I would love to hear how, I guess, two-pronged question. At what point do you just accept that like this person, like we're not even in shared reality, so can't even invest more of my time into this because they're making me feel nuts from their, really unregulated behavior. And also, yeah, just like the process of getting to that place of shared reality with someone where you're able to see that you're not meant that they're not wrong. You're just trying to help them feel heard and you're trying to come to that understanding. And like if they're showing up with extreme defensiveness.
Mm. So let me make sure, Marla, that I'm first hearing what you said because I want to make sure if I give an answer that it meets your needs. So
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing is that there's this two prong. There's a the person that is so in their story, and that was a summary, so in their story that they cannot hear you.
Mhm.
And then there's this person that is so um, wrapped up that they can't even have you hear them. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, yeah. Like they anything that you try to do is like seen as an affront to them. Like they're not giving you any space. There's no wiggle room. There's nowhere for either of you to go because of their inflexible thinking.
Yeah. Well, what we always say in the coaching world is we can't coach the ghost, right? We can't coach the person that's not here. And oftentimes in relationships, whether in the workplace or at home, there is someone who's stuck. And so it's said in my spiritual communities that we can't really force the work, right? So the only person you can control is you. And so what you have to do is kind of figure out your own emotional intelligence and self-regulation. How do you take care of you? How do you protect you when that person is experiencing what they are? Like we cannot lead an alcoholic to alcoholic recovery. They will go when they're ready or they've hit the rock bottom of bottoms, right? But you can take care of you so that you don't escalate and you're not antagonist, you're not what's the word I'm looking for? Provocateur. What language am I speaking? Hold on a second. Provocateur, is that an English word? Okay, so everybody understands me? Okay, good. So you don't want to poke and prod, right? And so how do you take care of you? And the more you start to model your self-care, the more you start to model thank you, provoke, the more you start to accept what's going on for you, they'll catch on. So my wife and I, we've got different family upbringings, right? And I work with a lot of different people who have different backgrounds. So one person like expects you to go, yeah, yeah, I get you, I get you, I get you. The other person like, can you give me some space so I can talk? Like stop the mm-hms, right? So everybody's different. So it starts to not only be from you got to model it. What do you want? How are you willing to be heard? If you're not being, how are you willing to be talked to? Right? Setting some boundaries, sticking to the boundaries, right? So that's one, modeling, which means you have to practice it to model it, right? And you can't practice it until you know what it is. So I'm reverse engineering for you, right? So first you have to figure out what is it? What are my boundaries? What do I need? How do I ask for it? Or what do I model to hope that maybe they'll catch a clue? So you figure that out, then you practice so that you can model. Okay. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay. But it does take a process, right? You have to, and again, this all comes back to it takes time to save time, right? We
Yeah.
have to start with that journaling process of like, who am I? What do I want? What do I not want? How do I need this, right? So in my relationship, and I'm fine giving examples of my relationship, and my wife is okay with it too. Um, it used to be that she would get very defensive But her defense mechanism would either be to critique me or to beat up herself. Well, it didn't work for either of us, right? Together 5.5 years doing this process, 5 years and 3 months of those 5.5 years. We started from the very beginning, practicing it. Now we might get a little defensive, but her whole body doesn't stiffen like a board. Like I can feel it because we'll be sitting next to each other when we do these meetings. Her whole body doesn't stiffen up like a board anymore because she's been able to kind of process that we're just having a conversation, right? We're growing together. But it used to be pretty hard, pretty intense. And as an empath, I'd feel her feelings and be like, oh God, I shouldn't have shared this. Right. And so it's that loop that Matthew was talking about. Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Marla, this works with kids. The compassion communication works with kids.
Yes.
So, something to think about. All right, Desiree, come on in. Professor Desiree. Sorry.
Hi, Misha. Yes,
Yeah.
you actually answered one of my questions as well. So you actually helped me because part of my question was how to basically communicate with others who do approach conflict differently from you. I mean, I am a care helper. I don't say caregiver because we help each other to my 85-year-old mother who lived through Jim Crow. And even though I was not there, I was nearly born yet, obviously, but I still feel it in my bones and my blood, right? What my ancestors, what my mom went through, and the stories she told me. And because of that, I'm me living in this metropolis of New York City, being of another generation, she and I approach conflict differently. And a lot of times when we're having conversations and we're like revved up and we're talking about situations in society or things like that, that's where the differences or we collide, so to speak, because of her different way of dealing with things. And that was one of my questions. Should I be more accepting or, like you say, model or be more attuned to how others communicate their ideas to be able to respond better? And I think you did answer that for me because that, I guess, will help me in my patience in what I say and knowing how it will affect that person's feelings, because I can be very direct at times because I'm so passionate about people doing the right thing. And I'm so hurt about the traumas of the past, right? Of what society has done. So thank you for that. That really helped me. But the other part of my question was emotional intelligence. And I was so happy that you brought that up because this is something that's so prevalent. It's thrown around in every conversation, so ubiquitous in every conversation, right? Like you have emotional intelligence. You don't, or I have emotional intelligence. And I really just wanted a working definition of that. You said something earlier about it starting with knowing your own emotions. And I was wondering if you could just develop that. Like, how should we see emotional intelligence?
Yeah, great question. So before I give that answer, no, I'll give that answer first. Okay. So for me, I define, and I will tell you all, yes, I got a master's degree in French literature and I speak 3 languages. And yes, I wrote a book. And yes, I have cards. And yes, I, got a training in conflict resolution and things like that. I'm a smart human, but I'm not a researcher. So I'm going to tell you all right now, most of what I give is through lived experiences because I absorb the frickin' world in my body. So if people want stats and Merriam-Webster dictionary definitions, please go for Google, right? Go search that out. But the way I see emotional intelligence, Desiree, is your ability to understand and accept your emotions and be able to identify what they are, not only for you when you're having them, but then what does it look like when other people are having emotions? How can you name what you're feeling when they're having emotions? Right? And be able to compartmentalize these are my emotions and these are your emotions, and not actually let them, excuse the terminology, but bleed into each other, right? That kind of become enmeshed. Like you're angry. Okay, now I'm angry. I mean, there are reasons for that. There are times where if you're angry, I should be angry too. But it's like, how do you feel your emotions while other people are having emotions? Maybe you're having a fabulous day and somebody's sitting on the couch being I don't know, they're grumpy. And all of a sudden you become grumpy. Well, what happened? You were just having an amazing day. There was no evidence, no reason for you to become enmeshed, right? So really being clear on what your emotions are and what your emotions are when other people are having emotions and how to take care of yourself. Is that helpful?
That was so helpful. I was tearing up a little bit because, like you, I feel everything around me. I'm so attuned to other people's emotions. I just take it in. And because of that, I can also become infuriated very quickly with things. And I have to say to myself, like you said, okay, how will I feel later on if I explode or if I don't manage this? And yes, and it's every day I try to look at every day as like, okay, this is a new beginning. Maybe I didn't do it the best way yesterday, but I can try again. And thank God for giving me this next day. So yeah, so tearing
Absolutely.
up a little
Thank
bit.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I know we have like less than a minute left. And I don't know, Sam, do you guys usually ever do like a group picture before people leave?
We can today.
Is that okay with y'all?
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay. I don't know if Marla's still, oh, she is. Okay. All right, cool. And I'll try to stay after to get to the other two questions, but people might need to leave. So everybody smile if you want to be on the picture. And let me get it together. Hold on a second. I can do it on my end.
Everybody say Misha rocks.
One, two, three. All right, I got it. Okay, and I just wanted to real quickly before y'all jump off, I wanted to say one more thing based on what Professor Desiree said. I was the caregiver for my mom as she was dying 10 years ago. We're coming up on her 10th anniversary of death, and I'm actually having a song release. I wrote a song about her, and it's called Heart in the Sky. And if you want to join me for the song release party, I'll put it in the chat. But I would love to just, it's my coming out song, but it's also my song to honor my mom. But what I want to say to what Desiree said, my mom, it was 2 weeks before she passed, had no control over anything anymore. And I was making her meals and I was doing her laundry and I was cleaning her and I was bringing her her soup and I put it on the table right next to her. And she said, honey, don't spill it. Now, I could have easily gone back into my childhood wounds of, I'm capable. I'm not going to spill it. But I looked at her and I said, Mom, I don't want to spill it because I'm the one that'll have to clean it up, won't I? And she laughed and I laughed. So it's like, again, knowing who you are and what you want, what you need, but also knowing that's all she could control was just to tell me that please don't spill the soup, right? And so really being able to identify, what's within our control, what's within their control. And that again, that comes down to connection rather than conflict. It doesn't mean avoid conflict, but transform it. Make something beautiful of it. Most people, and I don't have stats on this, but I can tell you from working with my clients, most people have said that they feel closer to people when they've shared vulnerably, which means people want and crave connection. You don't have to tell them your whole life story, but just give a little piece of you and be willing to listen to a little piece of them. That's where it starts. Okay. So, for those of you who have to go, thank you so much for being here. I hope you gained something from it. You can reach me through my website if you want couples training, individual training, leadership training, keynote speaking. I do so many wonderful things, and I'm a singer-songwriter. And I just hope that you'll continue to connect with me. And I don't know whose question was next, but y'all have a great day. And I think it was Joe and then Marcelo, or Marcelo and then
Mm,
Joe. Marcelo, okay, come on
mm.
in. And those have to leave. Go ahead. Okay,
Like,
thank you.
yeah, you were kind of modeling when Marla was asking and Jackie was asking, and then you took the time to reflect and slow it down the conversation, and then okay, let me see if I understood this correctly. How do you do that, or where can we get trained for that? Because you need to slow down, and then you need to put your ideas in so you don't lose them,
Right.
and then you paraphrase back what they
That,
said, and
that's my work. That's what I do, Marcelo. So yes,
okay.
if you want training on that, I'm happy to talk to you about how to do that.
Okay.
Do you have my contact information?
No, I have your website only. I don't
Okay.
know if you could
Let me
send me
give you
your.
my email address. And if you want to give me yours, you can do that
Yeah.
too.
Okay, let me put it on you. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we can do anything from just a few sessions to an actual
Oh,
team. We can work with your whole team, whatever you feel would be supportive. We can talk about how to do that.
yeah. Hold on.
Sure.
The M is lowercase, but I don't know what this.
Okay, so M Abaroal.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna copy that and I'm gonna grab it before we disappear. And I can send you a follow-up email also.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm so delighted to have met you. And I don't know
Me
if
too.
we'll need, your English is fine, but I can also potentially do it in Spanish. So
Okay.
yeah.
Whatever they. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful meeting you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Sam.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to
Misha,
stop
that was,
recording? Oh,
yes,
okay.
I have power over that now.